Donald Trump just had a disastrous interview on Fox. He wants to change the subject after the shooter in the death of Charlie Kirk was identified, and certainly does not fit the narrative that was pushed by Trump and MAGA. We know the identity now. Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, from Utah, comes from a gun-toting Republican family in Utah. His dad turned him in. Tyler Robinson dressed as Donald Trump in a past Halloween. I did a whole video on that. So now Trump goes on Fox and wants to change the topic and talk about other things like attacking NATO, attacking Los Angeles, attacking Soros. Time for some other conspiracies now. So Donald Trump says, in defense of Vladimir Putin in this interview, that Donald Trump doesn't think that the Russian drones even entered into Poland, which we know it did. Donald Trump's like, yeah, the drones were just shot down and they fell into Poland, so I'm not going to defend anybody. You're not going to defend anybody? America is part of NATO. There is actually a legal obligation to defend under NATO Article 5, and Poland has invoked NATO Article 4, yet Donald Trump is spewing Russian propaganda right now. Watch him do that. Play this clip.
And we're going to fix this system.
What are you going to do about President Putin? Because we just saw these drones in Poland.
Yeah, well,
more sanctions.
I mean, I'm not going to defend anybody, but the Poland's, they were actually knocked down and they fell into an area. But he shouldn't be close to Poland anyway.
Right.
So I solved, as you know, 7 wars. 7. I did so many, including Pakistan and India, but big ones.
Now, in normal times, what you just saw there would be treasonous, traitorous, front page news, an impeachable offense, literally aiding and abetting an enemy of the United States of America. But I'm just going to call it out what it is right now, because other corporate news is not. Then Donald Trump attacks California with deranged conspiracies and says, you know, in California, they don't even have ballot boxes. They just send out 38 million ballots and then they just pick when the Democrats win. This is 100% false. There is a very secure methodology in California for mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, as well as the ballot box where you can show up to in every community in California. But watch Donald Trump just blatantly lie. Play this clip.
Rigged. Okay. You know, there are a lot of problems. I like ballot boxes where they do mail-in voting all over the place, which is rigged. Anytime, right. Jimmy Carter, they had a commission. He said, anytime you have mail-in voting, it's a crooked election, okay? And they got to stop. But I say, so I can't really say the ballot box, because in some cases, like California doesn't have ballot boxes. They send out 38 million ballots. Nobody knows where the hell they're going. Then they come back. Democrats get more than Republicans. Right. It's so unfair, the system, and we're going to fix this system.
Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren goes, I've heard so many Trump election lies, but this one's just lazy. Then she shows ballot boxes in Santa Clara. But the point isn't to be lazy. The point is just to make up the biggest, craziest, most deranged lies. Then people are like, well, that's crazy. I'm not going to push back against it. But then that contributes to the brain rot in the digital algorithms that infect the minds of Americans and radicalize Americans, as we see over and over again. It doesn't even need to happen from the Russians or Chinese influence operations. Trump is the biggest purveyor of disinformation. Now, here, more lies from Donald Trump. Trump says, I saved Los Angeles. I saved the Olympics because California ran out of water, and I took that water from the Pacific Northwest. I turned on a faucet and I saved the day. Here, play this clip.
It's a great city. You can save Chicago.
You had a decision in San Francisco that said you're not allowed to use the National Guard, the military in California, and you're waiting for that decision on the appeal.
We've been winning all those decisions. We just won one against Newsom.
You're waiting for it, and a lot of people think that it's just a matter of time, but you're appealing it. Are you waiting for that appeal to go your direction so you can put the National Guard and don't have to worry about the courts telling them to
We're really not. We think we're going to win all of them, and we have been winning all, and we just won one against Gavin Newsom, who's been terrible. Look, if we didn't go into L.A. a few months ago, you wouldn't have the Olympics there. They lost 25,000 houses to fires because they didn't have the water come down from the Pacific Northwest. They have a lot of water, but they send it out into the Pacific to protect their little tiny fish, right? Which did very badly when it didn't have any water, by the way. Right. But just the whole thing is so crazy. You wouldn't have lost any houses. You would have had a fire. They would have had sprinklers going. They would have had fire hydrants.
And again, some of the most deranged lies here that early on when the wildfires hit California about a year ago or so in early January 2025. I know because I live in Los Angeles, I had to evacuate. California Governor Gavin Newsom was responding to the fire, and Trump and MAGA and his right-wing army of influencers were spreading all of these lies that there's no water and Newsom is doing this and Newsom's protecting the fish over the people. And Newsom didn't respond for a few days until he realized, crap, I have to spend just as much time swatting down the disinformation as I do actually being a governor in 2025, because these MAGAs will politicize anything and blame Democrats and say the leftists did. Yeah, that's the world we are living in right now. And Donald Trump's claims that after the fires when the fires were 100% contained, meaning there was no more spread of the fire, Donald Trump sent the Army Corps of Engineers to Central or Northern California area. He drained reservoirs that had 2 billion gallons of water, and he drained them into farmland areas that are nowhere connected to Southern California. The water doesn't run down to Southern California, doesn't run down to Los Angeles. So you wasted the water that the farmers needed for periods where there could be drought. After the fires were contained, and said you turned on water. Frankly, that's an impeachable offense. That's treasonous and traitorous. He does this every single day. And then you claim you saved California and Los Angeles. Completely deranged. Speaking of completely deranged, then Donald Trump says if he loses the tariff case before the Supreme Court, where the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals has held that his tariffs are illegal because it said tariffs are a tax, taxing power is the power of Congress, not the presidency, and he doesn't have emergency powers to tariff the world. Trump says if the Supreme Court rules against us, we are going to head into a depression. Things are going to be terrible. Actually, it's your tariffs that are making our economy terrible right now with all the numbers coming out. And then Trump's like, we're going to have to return trillions of dollars to other countries. What are you talking about? Other countries aren't paying the tariffs. A tariff is literally a tax on the importer. The American company, the company based in the U.S., pays the tariff, and they could pass it on the consumer. They can go bankrupt if they try to eat the tariffs themselves, and they can no longer pass it, and they're unable to pass it on to the consumer. But that's why we're seeing inflation rise. It's taxing the importer, and the importer is raising prices on consumers. That's what's happening. Here, play this clip.
I mean, we've done a great job, despite the fact that we should have lower interest rates. Now, we have two things. We've been successful because of the tariffs. It's given us a great power to negotiate with other countries that took advantage of us. Tremendous power. Also, it's brought in trillions of dollars into our country. We have a big case brought by foreign governments because the foreign governments have been ripping us off for years, and it's now in the Supreme Court. That case is really important to win because it's made us a rich country. It's made us a rich country because I don't want to call it retribution, but we've been ripped off.
Trying to rebalance.
We've been ripped off for years by countries and by having presidents that were not smart in a business sense. I'm not saying they were good politicians, but they were stupid businessmen. They allowed the world to rip us off. If we don't, that Supreme Court case is so important. And frankly, this economy, if we win the tariff case, which we should on the legal merits, But on common sense, we would have to give back trillions of dollars
to these countries.
Can you imagine?
All those deals.
We would have to give back trillions and trillions of dollars because we got it because of tariffs.
Now, again, I stick with the facts. So the monthly deficit in August was $345 billion. Revenues, money in, $344 billion. Spending, money out, $689 billion equals deficit. Now, if we were bringing in all of this money, why is there a deficit? We should have a surplus. And if we're bringing in $17 trillion like Donald Trump claims, we should have a $15 trillion surplus for this past year. But where is that? No, we just pretend that what he says is accurate. This deranged, cognitively addled, dangerous maniac. We just pretend, he said it. So let's not challenge. What are we doing here? Then Donald Trump's like, okay, are we done spreading the lies about, Charlie Kirk's killer? Or where are we going to go now? We did news, let's do George Soros. Here, play this clip.
We'd love to save Chicago. We don't want to go into a hostile, by the way, the people will greet us.
Right.
But they have professional agitators. Mm-hmm. They're professional.
They're paid.
I had one the other night. I went into a restaurant and this woman stood up. I looked at her immediately. She had money. She wasn't serious. They get paid for it. They're professional from Soros and other people. And we're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people. Because this is more than like protests. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street. And we're going to look into that.
What do we do about our country?
Again, so utterly ridiculous. Then Donald Trump says, look, as the president, I can do whatever I want in D.C. Maybe I'll change the mayor. Here, play this clip.
So, Mr. President, now the 30 days is up. And does everything,
well, the mayor's asked us to stay.
Well, how do you?
So we have a Democrat mayor who's asked us to stay. And D.C.'s a little bit different because I could federalize it if I want. D.C.'s a little bit different. So we have a lot. We have actually more power in D.C. because it's, I can change the mayor if I want. I can do whatever I want. I haven't had to.
Then Donald Trump talks about how 2 months ago, his administration found $29 billion on a tariff shelf, a shelf of tariffs. This is the most financially illiterate, deranged thing. Yet CNBC will have Ivanka Trump on and she could promote her products while Donald is talking about finding tariff money on a tariff shelf. Here, play this clip.
We've become a rich country. Remember 2 months ago, they said, we found $29 billion, a lot of money. But peanuts compared to that, but they found $29 billion, sir. We don't know where it is. I said, where did it come from? They said, we just don't know. I said, check the tariff shelf. I call it the tariff shelf because the money is so ridiculous. It's enormous. They called me up the next morning. Sir, you're right. It came in from additional tariffs. $29 billion. We're a rich, powerful country. And when we're rich.
Then Donald Trump, again, to further divide the nation, he's like, the radicals on the right, you see, they want safety. The radicals on the left, they want violence. That's the difference. Except, Donald, in all of these shootings, it seems to overwhelmingly come from right-wing, radical right-wing, violent ideologies and gun lovers over and over again. And Tyler Robinson was not trans, Latino, gay, or whatever. What we're learning more about him is he came from a Republican family. His dad was a retired sheriff, Mormon religious family, grew up in a gun culture, dressed up as you on Halloween. I mean, take a look right here at this chart. Extremist linked deaths from 2013 to 2022. By the way, you extend that further out, the numbers are even higher. Overwhelmingly, you have right-wing violence and shooting deaths far exceed, not even close to left-wing relating shootings. It's not even a debate. I don't want to make it a left versus right. I'm not trying to, but if you're just wrong on the data over and over again, and you stoke more stochastic terrorism and division by saying things like this. Here's what he says. The radical left are the violent ones. Here, play this clip.
The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried about the border.
They're saying, we don't want these people coming in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers. We don't want you shooting our people in the middle of the street. The radicals on the left are the problem. And they're vicious and they're horrible and they're politically savvy. Although they want men and women sports, They want transgender for everyone. They want open borders. The worst thing that happened.
Then you can see he wants to just move away from talking about Charlie Kirk. And here he goes, you know, a minister who was involved with law enforcement ended up telling the dad to turn your kid in. Those are the facts. Could we move on and talk about something else now? Like George Soros? Here, play this clip.
Just some clarification. So a pastor was able to turn him in, or they got the family of the shooter to turn them in?
Well, it was a minister, and the minister went to a minister who was involved with law enforcement, by the way. And his good friend is a top U.S. Marshal. And they took it from there. And then it was a father got involved, namely his father, and said, we got to go in. And they, so I understand it. And again, subject to change. But, you know, the facts are the facts. We have the person that we think is the person we're looking for. But they drove into the police headquarters, and he's there now.
Did the father know about what the son had done?
I don't know. I'm going to let you get all those questions later, because I can't tell you how accurate. The bottom line is they have somebody that they think did it.
Then Donald Trump's like, but let's be honest. When it comes to George W. Bush, I'm a much better golfer than him. Here, play this clip.
These are agitators and obstructionists, the Democrats. Now, I hope it gets back. You know, in the old days, a long time ago, it sort of started with Obama. You want to know the truth. There was a level of unbelievable hatred. And Bush, I was not a big fan of Bush, as you probably know, and you are, so I'm not going to get into an argument.
Really good.
We don't have to, but I'm a much better golfer than he is, at least. But you know what?
I think you'd agree with that.
Everybody agrees with that. But you know.
Then Donald Trump claims that, and then Fox just goes, you see these buildings behind here? You've built all of these buildings in New York City. You didn't build the New York City skyline. He has Trump Tower, and then he has another building in downtown, which he doesn't even own. A German company owns, that he has leasing rights to, and he puts his name on it. Trump did not build the skyline. He doesn't have more than not that it's a bad thing. I don't own a handful of buildings, but he doesn't own there are far bigger developers. He's not even close to being at the top end of developers in Manhattan. But just go and say, oh, you built this. So what is this? Is capitalism. This is capitalism, Donald. And Mamdani is not, it's communism. Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, see these buildings? A lot of them in New York City you built.
I do.
That's called capitalism, not socialism. We have Mamdani, who is ahead in the polls here. What's your reaction?
It's amazing.
It's up by 20.
I call him my little communist. He's my little communist mayor. But, you know, he has to come to Washington for money, a lot of money. And it's amazing. I was so surprised by this. Even the other two candidates, I mean, you know, you look at the candidates now, maybe one-on-one, somebody could beat him. And I'm not looking at the polls too carefully, but it would look like he's going to win. And that's a rebellion. It's also a rebellion against bad candidates. Okay. It's a rebellion. They're tired of it. You know, they're seeing things happening. We have taxes being put on us in New York by Democrats that is so bad that even the Democrats are revolting. It's not possible for a Democrat to lose.
No, you want to know what communism is? Donald Trump taking control over companies. And Donald Trump seizing control and telling companies what they can charge or what they cannot charge. Then Donald Trump is speaking about Charlie Kirk, but then quickly pivots to how he's building a ballroom. I'm building a ballroom. By the way, why isn't any official suing him with this ballroom? It's for real. Democrats, sue him. Stop the ballroom. Why are you allowing him to desecrate the people's house? Here, play this clip.
He was very hurt when he saw this, but I mean, everybody was. Oh, when I heard it, I was in the midst of, you know, building for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom. They have to use tents on the lawn for President Xi when he comes over. If it rains, it's a wipeout. And so I was with the architects and with design. It's going to be incredible. And they came in, they said, Charlie Kirk is dead. I didn't know what they meant. I said, what do you mean dead? Charlie Kirk was shot. And they thought he was dead because it was so horrific, you know. And I said, dead? And
then finally, Donald Trump is asked, well, what does clamping down on Putin look like? What does it mean to clamp down on Putin? And Donald Trump's like, we're doing it. I've sanctioned India. I've doubled the tariffs on India, rather. So that's how we're hitting back at Russia. I've done no, you haven't done anything of significance to harm Russia. Tariffing India 50% hurts the American consumer. It's pushed Modi. It's empowered Russia. It's made Modi close to Russia and pushed him away from us. Anyway, play the clip.
No,
True.
he wasn't coming to the table so quickly. You remember the famous.
So is your patience run out with Putin?
Yeah, it's sort of running out and running out fast, but it does take two to tango. It's amazing. When Putin wants to do it, Zelensky didn't. When Zelensky wanted to do it, Putin did. Now Zelensky wants to, and Putin is a question mark. But we're going to have to come down very, very strong. It's the only one. This is the one, because I've always had a great relationship with Putin. This is the only war that I haven't solved. Now, let's get into Gaza, because that's another one. So those are two that are.
Before you move on, can I ask you,
complex.
what is clamping down on Vladimir Putin?
Well, it'll be hitting very hard with sanctions to banks and having to do with oil and tariffs also. But I've already done it. I've done a lot. Look, India was their biggest customer. I put a 50% tariff on India because they're buying oil from Russia. That's not an easy thing to do. That's a big deal. And it causes a rift with India, you know. And remember this is a Europe problem, much more than our problem.
Utterly pathetic press conference. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.